Hello and welcome to our next video. In this lesson, we're going to work with some of the HTML and we're going to add in the JavaScript data tables. And this is going to only be on the index page, and we're going to do this so that we can make our fields searchable to satisfy this requirement. So we already have a CRUD application that stores contacts or persons with the following fields: first name, last name, city, and zip. It says any one of these fields should be searchable. Now this is going to be really important in any application you ever build. If you're doing something for a business user, they're always going to want the ability to do some sorting and filtering on the data so that they can get to it more quickly. And that's what this is for. And data tables is that really awesome JavaScript library we're using to do this. So let's go ahead and get back in our application. And again, I still have it running, and I'm working against the index.cshtml now from my contact. So that's where I'm at. You can see the model still the contact model, and on the top it says index. So we can change that to make it a little more useful. What we can do here is just make this, my contacts or something. It really doesn't matter, but really what we want here is going to be that title. So we're just going to say @viewbag title, rather than just repeat the same text we have right there. So in case you're not familiar with this, and you may not be, and that's fine, this is just Razor syntax. This @ symbol allows me to do some coding in these curly brackets, curly braces, whatever you want to call them. They wrap that code. So this is just setting that viewbag title to my contacts. This is the same as if I had done this in my controller. So if I had taken this viewbag.title and gone into my controller on the contact web controller here, the contact controller. Let's make this a little smaller so I can find things easier. If I had gone here on the index and set the title right here, it's not allowed while I'm running, but I could put viewbag.title and put it here, and then it would pass that in. But this is just doing the same thing right here on the page. Now, this is going to be just fine. And then this will render it. You'll note that it has this link to create a new, and it takes you to the create page. We're just going to leave that the way it is for now. If you want to dress that up and make it look like a button, make it look more fancy, certainly you can do that. Note the table here has all of the display fields, and it's just using that display name for to point to the model's properties. Now we're not going to show the user ID at all. And what I would do is basically clean these up to just kind of take up less real estate. But to save time, I'm going to go ahead and use some code that I've given us, and it's going to be the contact index display table. And let's just go ahead and grab that table and put it into the entire thing here. And note the for each and all of the editing and all that stuff is still going to be there. So let's just wipe this entire table out and paste that in. And what we can see now is just a little cleaner, a little easier to see. It's exactly the same thing. We're just going to show first name, last name, email, phone, birthday, street addresses, city, state, and zip. Now you don't have to show all that. If you didn't want to show for some reason the address until they drill in, that's fine. Just take them out and make sure if you take them out here, that you would take them out down here as well. So now we'll no longer be showing the street address if we did this. Now I'm going to go ahead and leave those in because I also have a default script that I want to set up for data tables. We also no longer need to see our user ID, so I'm just going to clear that out. And you can see our page is pretty concise, and that's awesome. You might say, well, how the heck is this going to show all that data? Remember, it's going to for each on every item in the model, which is a list or an enumerable of contacts. So all of them will hit this each time. The table body will create a new table row and put in their first name, last name, and all their properties into each table cell. And at the back end, you can have your edit details and delete lists. And then note that I've got the user ID here as well as a hidden item now. So basically, I created a couple. This is an extra slot that I had to add in. Not a big deal. But it basically just allows me to have this user ID on each one of these properties, so I can pass it forward as I click it, and it will, let that happen. Now, technically, the user ID is going to be the same for all of them, so shouldn't be a big deal. We should be fine. But the next step is to actually add a script. So if you've never worked with JavaScript before, this might be a little foreign, but that's okay. What we're going to do is we're going to do a script, and we're going to say type equals text/JavaScript. And then we're going to put our JavaScript code in here. Now you could use jQuery and do some stuff if you wanted to. And that would allow us to have a jQuery script in here. We would need that. or we could say like alert hello. And I'm just going to run this really quick to make sure this works. Now you don't need to type this. I'm just showing it works here and shows you can put your page together and have that happen. And this is just making sure my jQuery is wired up correctly on this as well, so that I don't run into an error later and not know why my stuff's not working. So you can see my jQuery doesn't seem to be working, or it should have alerted to me. And anyone want to take a guess why that is? If you want, you can dive in and say, well, let's look at the source. What does the source say? Well, I have my jQuery CSSs. I have my function here, and then I have my jQuery stuff. So right now, if you're familiar with the web at all, you should immediately see the problem. This is rendering too soon because this needs to render after we've wired up jQuery. And so what do you think we need to do? And you may not know, and that's fine. Well, basically, remember we went on our layout page and we saw this section down here called render section, render your scripts. And it's not required on the page. So what do you think happens if I don't do something to tell the page I'm actually creating a script? Exactly what we just saw. The script goes on the page right where we wired it up, and it doesn't work because jQuery follows my script. So we need to have jQuery wired up before jQuery can actually run a script. So let's fix that. And it's an easy fix. All we need to do is wrap our code in a little bit of Razor syntax. We're going to say @section scripts. Now this name is the same as what we had on our layout page. And that's interesting. So basically that right there will allow my script now to run the way that I expect it to. And just to verify, layout does call it scripts, so we're okay to go there. And let's go ahead and run this. Now hopefully our jQuery will trigger. And there it is. So now we know that our scripts are wired up. So the last part is we need to get our data tables wired up. And actually it looks like we're running a little long on time. So what I want to do is go ahead and take a quick break, and we will come back and pick up right here where we left off after we've gotten our scripts to work, and we will pick up with the data tables portion to wire up our table and make data tables work on the page. So that completes this first part of our video. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.